Oh, good evening. Welcome to the Town of Cicero Planning Board meeting. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Bloss, would you lead us off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First order of business is the approval of the March 20th Planning Board minutes. Any questions or comments? Do we have a motion for approval?
It's in the form of a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Mr. Wilkie?
Yes.
Mr. Abbey?
Yes.
Mrs. Scanlon?
yes.
Mr. Bloss?
Yes.
And I vote yes, minutes have been approved. Now we'll open the meeting to public comment. If there's anybody here that would like to address the board on any active application, please come forward. Good evening.
My name is Valerie Bleacha, 6351 Mud Mill Road, Riverton, New York, Cicero. I'd like to address the first site plan for the CarMax. I know they're looking for an extension. I was wondering if you could reconsider the original vote. I don't know if that's possible. It's not a good fit. It wasn't then, it's not now. Reading through this, I see that they've cut down almost 200 spaces out of the current parking lot. I use that lot 6 days a week, and I can't tell you how many times it's full. Losing 200 is going to be massive. They have, as an example, the Champions Fitness, 25 spaces. That's one class. That doesn't count all the people in the gym, all the people in the pool. They have 38 spaces allowed for the restaurant. You got 6 to 8 employees. There's always more than that in the restaurant on busy times. Get air, awful lot of children. And they're going to be directing most of the cars from the parking lot now are going to be using the front of the buildings where people step off all the time. Just a consideration. Number 2 would be the site plan, the Access Central New York. I think it's a great situation. I unfortunately am a little troubled and concerned over the overnight part of it because I feel like that has a different impact in our community and the neighborhoods nearby for security reasons. And I would like the board to ask the protocol for overnight of security. How many overnight guests at one time, and how many staff members per guest. And in the original letterhead, they said that there would be some, I don't want to use the wrong word, troubled or youth, and that would be there. I wanted to know, are they court mandated, or are these families that need a little extra help? And I just think those are important issues that we need to be addressed before anything's voted on.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to approach? Given nobody else is approaching, we will close the public input and move on to the agenda items. First one is for a site plan extension. This is the CarMax Auto for the property on Frontage Road this is a request for an extension. Please come on up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mitchell Visbara. I am a development consultant for CarMax. I am here today requesting the site plan extension that was previously approved in April, as of April 19, 2023. The reason that we haven't made the progress was there was some dispute between the previous landlord and CarMax. Those disputes have since been resolved, and CarMax fully intends to move forward with the site plan package.
I know when we did the site plan, it was close to a year ago now. I know we looked at parking, and this is the first time I've heard an issue with parking there. Can you address that? Can you?
Sure. I have my civil here actually for this project, Eric, and he can speak a little more toward that.
Thank you.
My name is Eric Kanan with CNS Engineers. We provided parking calculations as part of the process and the approval. We reviewed the building. We provided them by use. They were reviewed by your planning board engineer and found acceptable under the original site plan.
Thank you. Steve, have you seen any concerns out there with the parking?
I have not, no.
Or we'll open up to the questions. Mr. Wookie?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to elaborate on parking, but you already did, so thank you.
Mr. Abbey?
I'm all set for now.
Mrs. Scanlon?
So can you just explain, I'm new to the board this year, so I wasn't here when this was approved a year ago. So some of the parking spots from the existing big parking lot will now be just for CarMax.
No, they won't be for CarMax. They're actually going to go away. That end of the, or side of the CarMax property is going to be a buffer for landscaping.
Okay,
You have to put a fence up and some guardrail and that types of things around their property. So the board actually asked us to include 15 feet either side of the property line as a
Okay.
green space with some, to be able to plant some landscaping. And then because we're encroaching into the end of those rows, they all kind of run this way towards where the bank is now. We have to create a drive aisle around that back end too. So we have to take out parking spots to create the drive aisle so you can get around the end, so they don't just dead end into the curb.
okay, I did see that on the site plans. So the area that you're using belongs to the owner of the CarMax.
The first 15 feet is on that side of the property line at the request of the board to create a buffer so that the parking lot doesn't go right to the parking lot or right to the new property line. So that there's some green space and planning. It also gives them the ability to push some snow there if they need to,
Okay,
without it going directly into the like, if we had left it right to the property line and they tried to plow snow, they would literally be pushing snow into their property and into their fence.
okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Bloss?
When you did all your calculations, was that based on, I think it would be hard to base it on what businesses were in there because it wasn't a year ago, it was not 100% occupied, which it is today.
We looked at each space though, and we based it, if there wasn't a current business in there, we based it on like a retail use or what we know would, or maybe was there previously. So there was a restaurant, there was a retail space, there was the gym, there's Get Air. I think there might have been a Taekwondo studio or something in one part of it. So we based it on the information we had at the time and prepared those calcs. And I believe by calcs, there's way more than enough spots there.
Oh, one of my concerns is one of the businesses in there involves young children. I'm not going to say teenagers, but younger children, and I'm always afraid, of someone running out. The other thing is the snow removal. I think we tried to get into that when it was approved. Now, where would they push that snow?
So that was one of the reasons the board asked us to create that 15-foot buffer on the property line so that the parking lot didn't go right to the property line between the two parcels now. And then typically now it looks like they push it around back around the end to Good Air with the front loaders. And they basically just stockpile it maybe in the northwest corner too, up towards where the old sign is now. I mean, I think the people that own the plaza take a front loader and give up 3 or 4 parking spots and just pile it, right? And it probably sits there and melts, but I know they push it around the back end and I think they push it towards the south end now. But that was one of the reasons the board asked us to create some additional space so that the parking lot didn't dead end right into the property line also.
Well said.
I have no questions. Mr. Copione?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Mr. Jermaine? Mr. Parrish? Neil, would you make a motion for approval of the extension, please? We'll make that in the form of a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Wilkie?
Yes.
Mr. Abbey?
Yes.
Mrs. Scanlon?
Yes,
Mr. Bloss?
No.
And I vote yes, extension is approved. Next item on the agenda is for a proposed commercial landscape building. It's for a property at 6344 East Taft Road. Lee Harmus is the applicant. Good evening.
Hi.
Cooper Kale with RZ Engineering. Cooper Kale with RZ Engineering.
HARAMIS. Madam New Zealand. First name is Pete.
Go ahead and make your presentation.
We're here looking for approval. I believe we got sign off from Mark Parrish last week. On
Can you
his
speak a
com-
little, I'm sorry,
Can you
people
hear
are
me?
watching at home, and if I can't hear you, they can't hear
Sorry.
you.
We're here looking for approval, from the board. We got approval, I believe, from Mark Parrish last week on his comments. And we have resubmitted to the county DOT, and are waiting on approval. We are anticipating approval upon their final review of our, driveway entrances.
Open up the questions, Mr. Wilkie.
So I had a couple questions based on your material storage, that open building on the side, but after looking at your auto turn, I think I understand why it was placed the way it was. So that was pretty much my only question. And then just a comment, it's just nice to see the progression of the building from your first presentation to now. I think it's very attractive. It's a good looking building. Thank you.
Mr. Abbey.
You refresh my memory, what type of business were you referring to in this?
I have a lawn care snow farm service.
Okay,
There won't be any customers coming to the property. It's just facility short.
okay, so there's not gonna be an office or any of those
There'll be an
facilities?
office there, yes, but that'll just be, it's not anything where the customer is going to come onto the property.
Okay, how many people might be there at one time, workers?
I employed 2 people. Just
Okay.
started employing another one today. They would, what would happen is 8 o'clock in the morning, my 2 employees would get there, and then leave. And there's nobody there all day long. And then around 5, 6, depending on Mother Nature, that's when we get back.
So would there be sewer facilities?
So what?
Will it have sewers facilities?
Oh, yeah, there's sewer runs right along the back of the property, that's already set, you know.
Okay, great.
And, we're putting a fire hydrant, by the entranceway,
Mm-hmm.
and there'll be water coming to the building as well. And, I believe the fire department was happy to get as far as getting that fire hydrant.
Are you planning?
Aqua headed down further down the road, the fire department wanted to open the entrance,
Mhm.
talk to Aqua, they said no problem.
Were you planning on having a sign out front?
No. No
Or-
signage at all.
Not on building or
I'll put
anything?
the number on the building for the building, but that's as far as it's gonna go.
And is it 1 story?
Yes, yep, it's gonna be 16 foot inside,
Is it-
so I can get all my stuff inside. I have a loader, a small loader.
Okay, and a typical metal siding and such?
Tin barn, but the bottom of it is gonna be the flat stone.
Okay,
The bottom 3 feet will be the flat stone, and, 5 foot from the building, we're gonna leave it open and we're gonna plant landscape in there.
okay, so it sounds like it's gonna be nice looking.
Yeah, we're gonna put a lot of maple trees in. The reason maple trees in the fall, you get the oranges, the reds, the yellows.
Sure.
We're gonna dot all that all through the property, so it's got some nice color at the end of the season.
Okay, I look forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Scanlon.
Hi. So you said you have 2 employees?
Yeah, I had one, and then this week I hired another one.
Okay.
He's only worked 1 day, so we'll have to see how that pans out.
Warm weather's coming.
Yeah.
So you'll store your equipment there and materials and people will leave, no one's gonna be driving backhoes around making noise at 7 o'clock in the morning
Oh, no,
because
no,
there's
so
apartments.
the employees say, "Oh, we want to start at 7," and I get there at 7 and no one shows up till 8, so I told them
Okay.
that 8 o'clock is our startup time.
So you're gonna have like fertilizers and things there, their pets?
When it comes to fertilizer, I sub it all the time on, I do their lawn service as well.
Okay, good. No
No
hardscapes?
fuel tanks, no hardscapes, no nothing, all we do is cut grass,
Okay,
trim shrubs, lay mulch.
all right, that's all I had. Thanks.
Mr. Bloss.
I'm all set.
Mark, the elevation, I know it's 1 story inside, but it's 2 story, looks like a 2 story outside. Does this meet the current? I know you're not, it seems to me like the stories should be divided with a crown mold at the first floor and
The elevation stuff.
then the split, the offset because of the length of the building.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel comfortable being danced. This is architectural.
We were told that you at 60 feet, you had to have a breakup of the building, that's why we put the awning on the front. And also too, they wanted something done on the peak originally, so we did all three of them.
And it looks nice. I mean, what you've done is nice. But I'm not, Steve, do you have an opinion? Because I'm not.
Well, I'm just making sure I'm in view. No, I mean, I think they did put an awning on the front of the building. I had anticipated more of a vestibule or something like
I can
that to,
enclose it if
to
that-
break up or to create some relief. And we talked about,
Isn't the break where it's got to actually offset?
right, either a projection or some sort of inset.
Yes.
Mhm.
I can enclose the sides of it, that's not an issue. Actually, that's what I told the architect to do, but left it open, so.
We need an architect guy. I don't, yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, it's actually got to be a small little L in the building where it cuts in a little bit.
I'm sorry.
But like a change in the
Or after-
plane of the front of the
Yeah.
building.
Okay, that's what I thought the awning would do, but I mean, you wanted to bump the one side out, is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yeah. And then I think, I'm not an architect either, but I think that the fact that it's a 2 story elevation from the outside, that there needs to be a break between the first floor
But,
and the second floor. So
I'm not-
like a different,
Strip going across.
A transition.
yeah, if you look at, you got the standards, right? If you look at the standards, it gives some examples of what you can do to make that happen. We're new with this too, so I apologize. But, and what you've done is,
It's time doing anything like.
what you've done, it looks nice, but
Give you information, that's all.
and then I had a question on the shed too. Is it possible to put the shed in the back of the building?
I'm sorry, say again.
The shed on the side, is it possible to get that in the back of the building?
I have a tractor trailer doing any kind of delivery, then they'll never get it back there.
What goes in that?
Mulch, topsoil, in the wintertime, rock salt.
Right.
That's why we put it off to the side like that. We put it on the high water fastener side, I swear I didn't feel it.
All right. That's all I have for now. Steve?
They did relocate the fire hydrant on this plan from the previous one, getting it closer to the driveway entrance and the access to the building. And I believe it meets the.
Paul, did you want to speak on this?
Yeah,
Fine, they comply with the code.
yeah, so. I was gonna say that.
You guys can have a little box I can put on the building with a key that I can do keys for that stuff.
Get your information and send it, yeah.
Thank you.
Also,
So that kind of addressed my next question. And the building, the yard was gonna be fenced, so access for the fire department, et cetera. We received fire flow information for that hydrant as well, so. The only other thing I was gonna mention is all vehicles, equipment, and all gonna be stored behind the building, nothing in front of the building.
Yeah. That's
Thank
why I
you.
wanted to fence it off so I could put
Yep.
stuff out there.
is that noted on the plans? I don't remember.
Sorry, what?
Is that noted on the plans?
I don't know if they wrote it in there or not, but that was kind of the plan of it all.
Yeah, we're gonna want that.
If it's not, we can add it to the plans.
Thank you. I don't remember seeing it, but
And just to be clear, I can do away with the overhang coming out as long as I bump the building out. How many feet would you like it bumped out? I mean, more space for me is good.
It
Like
is
a 2 foot
specified,
or-
it's specified in design
Is it?
standards. Yeah, there's, I think, a minimum, so I can address that with them.
Yeah, Mark.
Go to bed.
That's good. Not even architectural. Alright. So I have to make those changes and have you come back.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just so I'm clear on all this, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
What we're looking for is you wanna have the building bumped out, 3 feet. Remember you mentioned something about- Okay. And what was the other thing that we had to do?
We have and then the split between the height of the building. We'll have to put that.
Just so when I come back the next time, we're all happy and everything goes smooth.
Come on up for a second. So there's like the L that we're talking about, the split.
Yep.
And
So you
then,
wanna have something that bumps out a little bit from the building.
yeah, like this is where the bump out is.
Oh, yes, I know what he means by that, but you said splitting, or,
And then the first floor and second floor
yep, so you want.
changes.
You want,
On the.
so if I had something that was like, built it out of 2x8 and had it covered with tin,
A crown type molding.
The building permitting process.
Yep.
round type, I couldn't build it out of what I'm trying to build barn out of tin, right? I mean, they have the trim, you know what I'm talking about, the trim for that would go around the corners of the building?
Yeah.
She's got me.
Would
And
a
they just
different,
build something out that's like 2x6 or 2x8 and then wrap that with like a tin. Is that what I'm doing?
It sounds like that would work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Do
so.
I need to go all the way around the building or just the
Okay.
front?
Hmm. Steve, when you're doing the separation, the crown on the first
Mhm.
one, does it go along the sides as well?
Yeah.
It can, yeah. I think it laid out, it depended on where the building was located. But it was particularly on a corner, then that would be, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it, see if you needed to really do it on the sides, but some sort of break.
But not on the back.
Yeah, in the back, yeah.
I'm just trying to,
I understand.
Thornton's buying me out where I am, and if I have to be out of there by a certain time. So I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row, and I want to make sure that on the next meeting that everything's satisfied, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Steve already offered, to get together with him.
Yep.
I just want to give you a quick view of it.
Yeah, okay, and then. What else was there?
I think we're all set. We just have to add one note to the plans.
Okay. All right,
Great.
great, thanks a lot.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
All have a good night now.
You do the same.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you later. bud.
Okay.
Have fun.
See ya.
Thank you.
Okay, see you guys.
Next item on the agenda is Access CNY. This is for proposed children's respite, what do you say? How's that word? And mental wellness center. For the property at 7879 Northern Boulevard.
Hello,
Hi, welcome back.
hi. I guess quick, I'm Alex with the design team, Site Design, and you're representing Access, and we've got a whole crew for you. We have Matt with Access, Bob, our architect, to go over some of the architecture. So I guess I can just kind of dive into I was planning to go over some of the changes. So I guess first to start, as a reminder, this larger parcel is almost 6.5 acres, but we're disturbing approximately 2 in this shown area. And it's for the development of a youth wellness and respite center. Another update, on Monday, we were in front of the zoning board and received our approval for our request of a 30-foot front yard setback on Thompson Road, not both, just this one. We amended it from 25 to 30. We did some redesigning of the building and the site in order to accommodate some of their comments. And so that was just approved, and I noticed in the plan or the comments that were provided, we'll have that on the plan for the next submission. And on that, we have the site plan notes and we'll make sure all of that's on there. We just got them yesterday. So some of our modifications, we've made some, again, mostly in a response to our conversation with the zoning board. The building footprint was redesigned, and Bob is going to go over some of that in just a moment after I give you a quick site overview. The entry drive location has stayed the same. We have not moved that, but you've probably noticed that it's been laid out slightly different. We've pulled the parking out of this front yard, and instead of oriented it over here, we are providing 18 parking spaces, not including anything associated with the garage or in front of it. I know that was a comment and a discussion last meeting. We provided lighting plans. It is only lighting being provided around these pavement areas. We are not putting lighting in the play area that is meant for just daytime use, but there are wall packs on the building in terms of security lighting on this back end. And I guess while we're over there, I know there was a comment about what are these ovals? These are stepping stones between this door and then that gate, just as a, if that needs to be accessed. We are proposing 2 signs. I have this one shown and you probably saw it in the render. It's going right here. We will also have a street sign that runs perpendicular to the road. It's going to be just the logo and the address, not text label or the title, I guess, of the facility is the plan. And it should look something like that one you saw, that panel, and it'll be 2-sided with the address and the logo, indicating that entrance, as we're expecting people coming to this facility already planned, and it's not picking people. The intention is not picking people up off the street to turn in like a commercial facility. People coming here are planning to come here. So it's just an indication for them where to enter. The play area has been reorganized. As you probably noticed, we are providing the paved areas. This is half basketball court. This is lawn in the center, open play space. And then this will be a rubber surface with the equipment. Almost. So the storm facilities are designed and shown accurately. A SWIP we're planning, obviously can't see it on this layout plan, but the ones here and here, a SWIP will be provided to Mark to review, but Rudy's got that together, as well as our septic design is now complete and we're working on issuing those drawings, and we'll have the appropriate organizations approval on that, and we can also share that. And now I'm going to hand it over to Bob to talk about the building a bit.
Thank you.
Can we stay on that one? Which one? Sheet this for a minute. So so it's interesting, the building. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Bob Garner, Garner, and I'm project architect for architectural. So we've been working for months with Access CNY. We started out really with a pretty involved programming phase of the project to kind of work out all the spaces that were going to be occurring in the residence. And essentially, it was decided that there would be 14 overnight residents. So it is, it's a residence for these children that have respite need. There are 2 different wings to the building, and we agreed that we were going to separate the population of 14 into a group of 8 and a group of 6, because that the staff can manage that better. We also understood the building ended up basically being broken down into 2 parts. So we have the living space that's on the west side, and off on this end there is an office component where they do therapy and they meet with clients and do intake and things of that nature. The middle of the building is basically the residential block. This is actually an indoor gymnasium, and then the eastern wing is actually the nighttime wing. So what we've done is we've developed the two halves here. And in the middle is the staff space. And I know that there was a question about especially the nighttime population. So in order to make the facility easier for the staff to manage at night, the population will all be reduced to this half of the building, right? And basically it will be managed with two exit doors that meet code, that have delayed egress on them. And really at nighttime, the residents are going to be in the building with the staff, and only in an emergency would they ever leave the building. We worked out the design that even during daytime use, the residents will have access to their bedrooms, but we've agreed with the Access Central New York group that even though those exit doors exist, they will always be exit only doors. So essentially, people coming to the facility will go through the front door. And then really, there's only three other doors that lead to the exterior around the outside of the building. So one is out of the garage. That will be kind of a secured, the kids won't have access to the garage at all. There's another door that goes out into this fenced front yard, and that one will be controlled access by staff. So they'll only unlock that when staff is going out there with some of the kids to use the space. And similarly, out the south end, the entire playground area is a fenced area, but the only way that the kids will be brought out there is through the gym and out into the playground. So essentially, all the other doors are really exit only doors. So really people will come to the front door, they'll get let into the facility, and then really the front door, these two side doors in an emergency, and these two doors out the back of the residential wing would be the extent of exiting for the building. So as far as the aesthetics, we knew that this was kind of in a rural suburban setting. It is a residence. We wanted it to look like a residence. So, it's got the general height of the building is 10 feet before you get to the roof form. It's a combination of hip roofs and gable roofs. It is wood frame construction as truss roofs, but we're using all residential materials. So we're using a combination of hardy products. There's cementitious siding. So we're using some horizontal clapboard, and we could go to the next view. We did the perspective, but essentially initially we were thinking all white, but we ended up agreeing, and I brought some material samples here, but basically the bottom of the building up to the heads of all the windows, and that detail goes all the way around, will be clapboard siding down below. So that's the kind of the tan colored product. And then the upper portion, once you get above the windows, that's a board and batten detail, which is kind of wide planks with strips of wood. All the trim is basically rectangular stock. It's the same product. It's all white trim. The window frames are an Anderson window with dark bronze framing. And then the doors will be kind of residential type entry doors. As we did develop these fence features, so this is just a plank fence that encloses that front yard that we talked about a bit ago. This element over here, there is an elevation view. Can we go to the next sheet? So yeah, so this is the street side of the building. So this fence really contains that kind of front porch area. And the idea was that was a quiet area that the staff could take the kids out and sit and watch kind of the world go by, your front porch. And then this side here is the west side facing the parking lot. So the main entry is in the middle. We got the garage and the man door into the garage. And then what we did, the same fence detail we used here, we used 3 sections of that fence here to apply the Access CNY signage on. And that really is, I think, what we were proposing for the signage there. And then the thought is the sign out at the street will be 1 or 2 panels, so not quite as long as this, but it'll have nothing but the street number. It'll be 2-sided perpendicular to the street with the street number. And there's actually a little, it's part of the logo. It's the little van in the middle, right? That is which is the logo, not the Access CNY part, will be out on the sign out at the street. And then we were thinking that there probably is rural mail delivery here, so we would ideally incorporate the mailbox into that sign as well. That was our thoughts. So, I do think that we haven't ignored any side of this building. So even though these 2 views are the predominant facades, the detailing really wraps all the way around. So coming up, from the east side, yeah, you're gonna, coming up, that's my orientation here. This is the east side view. So looking, if you're coming from the east, you'll actually look across the detention basins and be able to see the facade here. And then this is the view that faces out to the playground. So this is the only time that we've broken the aesthetic of the architecture, where we have the clapboard below and the board and batting above it. This is all board and batten in the middle, and this is the gymnasium. So there's high windows into that space, and it's just kind of an area for the kids to kind of spend some energy. So I don't know if there are any questions.
What are you going to be discussing?
We had talked about, sorry, Bob. We had, Matt Seubert, Seubert. Thank you. So a couple of things we wanted to address that came up in the first meeting, and one was parking. So you'll see that we did indeed, we did not change the number of spots, but we relocated and rejiggered sort of the parking lot. We also removed 2 of the handicap spots, realizing that the kids don't drive. In a lot of the spots, we didn't need the 4 that we had. So we have 16 spots with 2 being handicap accessible. The other question that was
Before we
raised,
move on from parking, so we talked about potential of visitors,
Mhm.
number of staff on site.
Correct.
How does all that break down to the 16 spots? How many staff are going to be there at night?
So I'll wrap that into the security part, and then if that doesn't answer it, then
Okay.
we can work through that. So when we were here the first time, I think we were talking about staffing of 4 to 5 per shift. We've actually moved that up to 6 or 7. So the ratio to the number of kids to the number of staff is 2 to 1. So it is 6 to 7 staff on at a time.
Is
What
that
we're-
regulated at all by the state?
Yes, it is. Yep. And that's beyond regulation. Yeah. So the other thing that I think is different about the staffing that we don't do at this facility is we oftentimes have shift change all at once. We're not doing that in this location. So you'll never have 6 staff leaving and 6 or 7 staff coming out at the same time. Because of the needs of the kids, we want consistency. We want continuity. So we're sort of doing staggered shifts. So you might have 8 or 9 staff cars there at a time. And from a family visitor perspective, you would only have probably 1 or 2. So I think if that kind of gets to the parking piece of that. In terms of other pieces for the security piece, we also have confirmed with our licensing agency, which would be the Office of Mental Health, that we can use those time-delayed egress doors, as Bob mentioned. So we really have those only 2 points of entry and exit. The other doors will be controlled in a time delay fashion. So if the kids go up to and push on them, they will not open, and staff will have time to come and make sure the kids are safe.
How much time is that?
They can be set, and that's based on our regulations. So the regulations for this program are under development, but that is one piece that they've been able to confirm. We can do that. The timing of that is what we don't know exactly.
Dictates how long it can be too. So
I was going to ask, what about an emergency?
no, it's in New York State code.
Yeah, I believe it's 15 seconds.
Yeah, I would say, and in the case of an emergency, when the fire alarm is tripped, I think that overrides the time delay.
So just to clarify, so if they push that door, it'll alert staff?
Correct.
Okay.
So the other pieces we've been working with our licensing agency around safety and security is we'll also be able to do closed circuit monitoring in common areas. So in the hallways, in some of the lounge areas, in the kitchen area. So that'll help us kind of monitor the kids as well. We can't do that in any of the bedrooms, obviously for privacy reasons, but those common areas can have closed circuit monitoring, and we intend to do that. There are other things we can do on an individual basis, but that's really based on each child that's coming. So we can have sort of global for the whole building, but if there are other kids who have specific needs, then we can address those in sort of an individual plan with them. That could be from, our hope is that we let kids choose the bedroom of their choice, but sometimes that might not be a choice for certain kids if we want them closer to the line of sight with staff. So there's some other things we can control on a case-by-case basis, depending on the needs of the child. The regulations also do specify and exclude, and I'll read it right from the regulations. So excluded are youth ordered to detention or for court-ordered clinical assessments or placement by family or criminal court. So there will be no justice-involved kids in this program. That's what I have. Any questions?
Any questions? Anybody? Go ahead.
Do you have any?
I believe you and your team were here for the public input. So
Yes.
just to clarify, this is a secured facility, but it's not a detention facility.
It
This
is not a detention
There's no kids under, okay. Right.
Correct. Yeah, it's all kids who either have a mental health diagnosis or a developmental disability, or probably for the most part, we'll be serving kids who have both.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Abbey?
Yeah, to abstain.
Oh, Mr. Abbey?
Just saying.
Who's laughing at me? Mrs. Scanlon?
So for the kids that are staying there, will they have to leave at any time to go to school? Will school buses come and get them? I mean, how does that work?
We are required to meet their educational needs, and in our design, we've actually created a classroom space. So we'll be working with districts and doing that. I would say that there may be some kids who, if they're in this and in with us, the chances of them leaving to go to school are pretty small based on what their needs are. So most of those educational components will be handled in our classroom space that we've designed.
Okay, and if a school bus needs to get in there, they can?
Yeah, that's the drop off.
Yeah. Okay, and there was mention of, this is in Mark's review, the curb drop for wheelchairs and things.
Yeah, we'll
Is that-
ensure that's all compliant.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. Bloss?
I guess I'd like to, what's the right term for the kids that are gonna be in it? Just kids? Are they, is there any, another term? No, like, are they, I realize some of them must have some issues, and also what's the age limit?
So the age limit could be anywhere from 3 years old to 17 years old. And so the terminology would be a child with a disability or a child with a mental health diagnosis.
Yeah, and what's the maximum age?
The maximum age would be up to 17.
I'm really concerned that the security on it with all of the fencing. I guess I don't understand the need for all of that. It almost, because in my career, I did some work in prisons and, penitentiaries and everything, and some of that fencing in there, I'm like, I saw that when I worked in those places.
Ornamental fencing.
Correct.
Okay.
Ornamental.
Yeah.
That's common for play areas.
Yeah, it's just the play area. and
Okay.
courtyard on-
That-
Those are the only two places.
Yeah, that's my concern. Where are they housed right now, some of them?
They could be in multiple places. Some are living with family, and some would be coming from an inpatient psychiatric setting.
No further questions.
As far as the individual rooms, the windows, what type of security is there on the windows?
The windows they'll be I don't know what it's called, but they'll be unbreakable windows. So they're shatterproof. Is that thing? I should let Alex design that, but that'll be for all of the windows throughout the
How
facility.
about opening and closing?
They'll be probably double locked windows. So if they can open, it would be similar to what you have in a hotel room.
And have you had a chance to review the review letter that Mark submitted?
So we got that yesterday and have reviewed it and feel confident we can address all of those in our plans there.
Okay.
We're not, the only, actually, I do have a question for you guys, just to clarify, so I don't come back or I can call Steve, but the only one, small, it was the landscaping plans, and not meeting design standards. Is that new one? Because I was gonna say in the regular code, I didn't find anything, and I
It's in the-
presume it's related to the shrub layer. I think our trees are set correctly and they go up to the point on the corner, because there's also some corner restrictions, for this building.
It is in the design standards. It talks about distances or clustering, and so it's in there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so sure, that's what okay, all right. That was my only question.
I have nothing else, Steve?
The plans have been modified to address some of the fire department's comments, so I'll let Paul comment if you'd like to do that while he's here.
Mr. Leonard, would you like to address the fire department issues?
Good evening. Thanks for having me. I spoke with Alex this morning and we talked about fire accessibility. And unfortunately, I didn't get a drawing that showed that until dinner time tonight. So if you're gonna approve this tonight, okay, well, then I will work with them. I'm concerned about where the fire department connection for the sprinkler is going to be in relationship to this, because the drawing that she shared with me depicts an aerial apparatus, which is gonna have to do some jockeying to get in and out of there, but I'll work with them and come back at the next meeting if that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any quick comments on that?
No.
Yeah,
I'll, call Paul again and we'll chit chat, yeah.
wonderful. Neil, anything at this point? Mr. Parrish?
Yeah, I mean, also, we given them comments and plans and we'll work with them to make sure they're best.
Great. Moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our agenda items. Is there any discussion from the team? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.